Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to the Recruiter Podcast. Andrew Wright.
Yay. Hey.
Ah, man. We so appreciate you being here.
It's great to be here.
Privilege is the way to put it.
It's great to be here.
So happy to have you here, man.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. I think it's great you guys are doing this. It's awesome.
You should probably do a podcast.
You think? Oh man, I don't have time. I'd love to. I mean, I do a lot with radio and that type of stuff. But
I know I wanted to talk to you about that today.
Sure.
But with podcasting, see, when you research it, and I researched it today, I know way too much about podcasting now.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a couple ways to go. We decided to go what's called long form, kind of Joe Rogan-like.
Sure.
Without minus 1 million views. and Elon Musk, you're the closest thing to Elon Musk we've had.
Oh man, I don't know about that, but okay. Oh, we'll run with that.
There's a little pressure on you. That's all. But most of them are half-hour podcasts.
Right.
Drive to work, at the gym, on the treadmill, that that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
So, you could squeeze that in, man.
Yeah.
I think you'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
It'd be good for the store.
You never know. Yeah. It would be good. It would be good for the store. That would be fun.
Great for the store.
Yeah.
And the community. I mean, you would end up sharing valuable insight that could, like we were talking about before we went on air,
Sure.
how the auto industry needs to attract people from outside the industry, quality people.
Without a doubt.
And all work together. That's not a bad way to communicate.
You
and
bet,
it almost
man.
takes the big bad car dealer, just a regular guy, sharing information, talking.
It's funny. One of my longtime GMs, Paul Goodwin, had that idea a couple of years ago, and we kind of kicked it around and never got it off the ground. But
really?
So maybe he was ahead of the times there. But it might be a good idea.
I think I mentioned to you just a bit ago. There's 550,000 podcasts going to happen today in the United States.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Right? But here, listen to this number.
Yeah.
There's going to be 2 million books published this year.
Yeah.
2 million.
Yeah.
Who's going to read? I mean, talk about not having time.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a stack on either side of my bed. I have a legit stack of books, at least this high on both sides of my bed.
So do I. Mine are stacked in my Kindle, but they're still stacked. I can tell you that.
It's like
things I want to get to.
I know. It's like Chris Saraceno is going to be on the show here.
Yeah, I know Chris.
Yeah.
He's my neighbor, pretty much.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Kelly's right next door to my Hyundai store.
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. The stores, yeah.
Yeah, I know Chris well.
Yeah.
Good man.
So, he sent me his Theory of Five book.
Theory of Five,
and it's
right.
like, I want to read that so bad. And it's like on a holding pattern,
Yeah.
Everything else around.
Yeah, it's. I've heard good things about it. I haven't had a chance to read that one yet either. But,
Me neither.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be really good.
Plus, in the way that younger generations are learning or are absorbing information, it is all on the phones, video, quick hits, right? It's not. They don't read like we used to read.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why.
It's funny though. I find that I listen to most podcasts either in the car or when I'm at home. If I'm in my home office and I'm paying bills or I'm catching up on emails or doing whatever, because I'm a million miles an hour during the day and I get several hundred emails a day, like I'm sure you guys do, and trying to get through them all and process them all. The time that I take to do that is first thing in the morning. I'm an early riser, and then usually right before I go to bed at night. And it's good to have something to listen to and consume while you're doing that stuff.
We're on the same plan, man.
Yeah.
I watch very little television. It's all podcasts.
I would get rid of my cable if it were my decision. My wife and kids would have something to say about
Your
that.
boss
But
won't let you do
that ain't happening. But no, I agree with you. I hardly ever watch TV.
All right. So what we're going to do here, the way I want to get this thing started is. This stuff here ain't for free, so we have some friends of the program that help us out. So I'm going to have Ernie's going to talk about a couple of those. But while he's doing that, Andy, I wanted to ask you a question to give you something to think about, and we'll come back to after the live reads. So what I'm interested in is you've been with the Vinart group now for 20
plus years,
right?
Second generation. My father started a company. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, and how long was he, when did he start it?
1983.
83.
1983, yep.
Okay, wow.
Yep. He bought our Honda store, Lehigh Valley Honda, in 1983.
And grew from there.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, my dad was a dealer.
Okay,
In
gotcha.
late 60s, early 70s, a single point Plymouth dealership in Canton, Ohio.
There you go.
Yeah, we can tell some stories about
I'm sure
that.
you
Pretty
could.
Interesting. Guy would never let me sell cars for him.
Yeah.
Wouldn't let me until I came in one day. Jeez, I get so easily sidetracked.
Yes,
man. It's unbelievable. I come into work one day. I'm a service advisor, right?
Sure.
And the service manager says, Craig, you got to go up front. And I said, what for? I said, just go up front. I said, what for? I don't want to go up front.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not allowed up front.
Sure.
My dad won't let me up there. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm only allowed here.
Right.
Go up front. I go up front, and there's a bunch of guys with suits on up there. Nobody I recognize. So I go, who are you guys? My hair's down on my shoulders. I got platform shoes on. It's 1973 or
there
whatever.
You go.
I looked like a circus clown. So who are you guys? We're the new owners.
Oh.
I said, you're what?
Yeah.
And they said, who are you? I said, well, I'm the owner's kid. Well, not anymore,
Yeah.
I said, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Actually, I said, are you shitting me?
Yeah.
And it was so, they said, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a service advisor. What do you want to do? I said, I want to sell cars.
Right.
Do you have a suit? I said, yeah, I got a suit. Total lie.
Yeah.
So, my first day was, really circus clown.
Yeah.
Stripe, sport coat, a bow tie.
Yeah.
Well,
things have changed since then, right?
Yeah.
It ain't what it used to be.
No, so it was like I didn't really get to be a dealer's kid. Kind of sucked.
Sure.
So, but at any rate, so over the basically 3 decades, when you first started, 10 years after that, and then today, how have you seen, based on our industry, your role as a leader or leadership in an organization or your organization? How has that role changed, if any?
Yeah.
It's had to have changed over those 10-year time periods.
Sure.
And then if you could think about that, and then we'll go further with that. And
I certainly can.
Ernie, friends of the program.
Big Earn, you're up.
Yeah, Big Earn.
There you go. That's my Kingpin reference. You ever see that movie?
Cool. Yes, absolutely. That's right.
Call me Ernie or Big Earn.
That's right.
That's for my morning coffee.
See, you got to do a podcast.
There
dude.
you go.
It's pretty funny.
There you go.
That is one of my nicknames. So we're going to talk about Tacoby. And Tacoby asked the question, wouldn't you love to capture interested buyers at the moment they are looking at your ad, while they are looking at your ad, and interact with them immediately? And of course you would. You'd love it. So with Tacoby software and using Facebook lead generation ads, you're able to instantly communicate via text message with your customers, engaging them throughout the car buying process. With Tacoby, you are able to follow up by text, import other lead sources, and text blast up to 500. Well, now it's 1,000 customers at a time.
1,000.
It used to be 500. They've now gone to 1,000 customers at a time, all within minutes. Yeah. Visit Tacoby.com to learn how you can instantly message with your new leads. And what's fascinating about that is just the fact that somebody's on your ad on Facebook, and while they're there, you can communicate. So that's so much different than an ad that's static. You don't know who's looking at it.
Right.
Now you do, and you can communicate and bring them, engage them, as they say. I find that just fascinating.
Yeah,
and apparently it's very effective.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I think it's interesting for a number of reasons, but they get after their dealer clients pretty strong. It's like
they do.
What to do
here? It's gonna. This ain't cheap, but most of the money goes to Facebook.
Right.
They're retaining. I don't know, 30% of their revenue. Which, if you retain 30% of your revenues, you're gonna make a lot of money.
Sure.
But a lot of their money goes out. But they're very strong with their dealers. Hey, look, here's how to do it. If you don't do it, it ain't going to work, period. However, they have a backup plan where they spent a boatload of money with us, where we filled that building with, I don't know 30 what they call ninjas that are.
He's built quite a BDC there.
Yeah, and those are all people that we recruited for him and initially, quote unquote, trained. Excuse me. And so if the dealer's lagging, these guys are actually working the dealer's deals and getting those leads in the building, and they're doing service now as well.
Yeah.
So, man, I don't know. If I'm a dealer, I have to listen to them. I have to. Whether I pull the trigger or not, but I got to listen to him because it seems like a no-brainer. So.
Well, we saw a testimonial the other day that was just, raving, where a gentleman, a dealer, eventually had to cut out all sorts of other advertising and focused on this.
You get rid of your third-party lead.
You don't need as many. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
They're definitely certainly the leaders and foremost experts in the field. No question
Seems
about
like
it. Yeah. Yeah. No, Jason's a good guy, and Scarlett, and they're good.
And
Dan
Webb.
Yeah,
we had
great guy.
Dan on the podcast.
Yeah, I've known Dan a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
He was from the area, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he used to work with the Pash organization for a while.
Oh, that's right.
That's how I
He
got to
did
know him.
with PPC.
And he's doing a great job for Gardner, and
Guy's a savage, man.
he is.
He is a savage salesperson.
Yes, he is. Yes,
Does
he
not
is.
take no.
He does. He's great. No, he's a good man.
That's what he won.
Yeah.
And then Rockstar.
Matt
Koenig and his crew. They also kind of asked you a question in the sense of, are you a little bit frustrated, maybe even tired, burned out by all the noise surrounding so many auto conferences? How do you even pick the right one to go to?
Good question.
Dealers and the hottest new companies are gravitating toward the Rockstar events. They are one of the few auto industry conferences that are truly delivering new information that helps dealers rock their market. If you are serious about increasing sales and profit in every department, go to rockstarinfo.com and see why people like Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, Ask a Millionaire, and many others are investing their time in the Rockstar events. Go to rockstarinfo.com to learn about an upcoming unconference near you. And they just had one in Nashville. It was yesterday.
Yeah.
It's kind of a quick hitter, one-day event.
1 day.
There's one coming up in Detroit in August. Then they go to Austin, Texas in
7th and
September.
8th in 7th and 8th in Detroit.
Okay.
That one's supposed to be a big one. I talked to Matt yesterday or the day before. Yesterday.
There's some really unique features about it, because one of the objections to going to a conference today is time, of course, but it's also money.
Sure.
To afford going to the event itself and then your transportation. Well, they make it really easy. They provide the ticket for free.
It's free.
The event covers your cost to be there for the ticket. Right. So all you have to do is get there.
Right.
And then you take advantage of the knowledge.
Yeah,
so,
it's not the old thing, dealer GM shows up and you bring your people for free, or the dealer GM for free if you bring people or whatever. There's none of that. It's just free.
Yeah.
Whether you're a dealer or
Interesting.
a salesperson.
Yeah, it's a
pretty
different
cool
concept.
Yeah, it is. It is, and they go on a tour, and we happen to be one of their sponsors.
Yeah.
We actually we stopped all our sponsorship of all conferences. We stopped NADA, Digital Dealer, all of them. Even the smaller boutique ones with Jim and so forth, we just stopped them, and we just felt this was a better way to go, and so we're a sponsor for them, and they reciprocate with a sponsor with us. So, all right. So to the big question: leadership roles. How has it changed?
So there's no question it's changed a lot over the course of the last 20 years. It just seemed like 20 years ago we had a wealth of people coming into the dealership to apply for jobs in various capacities, and I think that as an industry, culturally speaking, it was kind of a churn and burn mentality a little bit, which is never the right mentality to have, but that was the way it was. And now we don't have that as much. Now it's a lot more scarce in terms of the number of people that are coming into the business, that are even considering the business, and that's a whole nother conversation that we can talk about, and certainly how guys like you can help, Craig. But everything rises and falls with leadership. That's the bottom line, and I don't think that as an industry we're doing enough to grow and develop our people. About 5 years ago, I partnered with a gentleman, our company partnered with a gentleman by the name of Mark Crocco, and Mark's local here to the Philadelphia area. His company's called Integrity Leadership Development. He'd be a great guy for you to have on as a guest. He works almost exclusively with automobile dealers throughout the region. And Mark has developed what he likes to call the catalytic leadership model. And so much of what revolves around the catalytic leadership model, it really speaks to the importance of growing and developing your people.
What's his name?
His name is Mark Crocco, Crocco. Great guy. really has really helped me sort of evolve and change my approach and how I'd like the leadership team in our stores to change their approach. And it's all about growing and developing your people. That's all there is to it. It's the difference between management and leadership. And I mean, listen, I think we're doing a better job now than we did 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but we still have a long way to go. Right. And, when you look at the really great organizations out there, whether they're in the automotive space or they're in the non-automotive space, they really have great cultures, and those cultures really revolve around the growth and development of their people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the short answer to your question is a lot has changed, and a lot has changed because of so many factors and so many dynamics in the industry that you can't be sitting back, resting on your laurels, and thinking that things are the same way they were 20 years ago.
That's right. We've been forced to change. I think 08 and 09, as painful as that was, I know it totally strengthened our organization. We barely hung on.
Sure.
Can you imagine 08 and 09 being a recruiting company, making a phone call? Hey, so do you need any salespeople on your short... Hello?
Yeah. No, I can imagine.
Or the phone rang and nobody picked up. I mean, we must have lost 60, 70 clients.
Sure.
Were closed.
Yeah.
So things have changed. It's interesting. We're in the middle of some things within AutoMax, but we've been Joe, my son Joe specifically, has been following Gary Vee a lot.
Yeah, no, I know Gary. I've read several of his books and bought wine from his wine store.
Did you?
Absolutely, wine library. Gary used to have those videos. I mean, he stopped doing them because he kept going, a bunch of different directions with VaynerMedia and all that type of stuff. But I mean, his wine videos were classic back in the day.
Yeah,
they were great.
We had Frank Lopes on, who was his first ad agency, really. And so we got some inside old stories about that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, he's a high energy guy. I like him.
Wants to buy the jets.
He's a hustler.
I don't, man,
I think Woody might have something to say about that.
Yeah,
but,
probably. I wouldn't bet against him, though.
No, I know.
He put a group together with a few $billion.
Yeah.
He could make that happen. But he's been saying one thing that I think I'd like your take on.
Sure.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah.
What are you going to say? But so he's talking about literally, these are my words, not his, I'm paraphrasing, but basically take care of your internal clients, your employees, your team members better than your external client or customer. Because if you do that, then they will just naturally take great care and provide a great experience for your customer when they walk in to buy something at your organization.
Couldn't agree with you more. Mark talks a lot about that. He talks a lot about internal customers versus external customers, and absolutely having them on at minimum equal ground, if not the internal customers maybe a notch above.
Right, exactly.
And there's absolutely a lot of truth to that.
Right. Makes all the sense in the world. I mean, the way I grew up in the car business, it was just like beat them to death. and it's basically because what you said, when I asked you about that, the way you started off is like turn and churn. There was another 10 people that you could just slot in. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember walking into sales meetings. I started my management career at a huge Chevrolet store in Akron, Ohio. And the conference room held, 40 salespeople. So, and I had 40, 45 guys.
Yeah.
And literally, I'd come in there on the first or second of the month.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, you 6 guys are at the bottom of the board. Hit it.
Yep.
Get your box and beat it.
Yeah.
It was like.
There's a lot of that still to this day, believe it or not.
Yeah, no question. Yeah. We unfortunately we experience.
You have a front row seat to that.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, and it gets, not that we fire a lot of clients, but there's some that just, it's abusive.
Yeah.
It's like I can't, in all conscience, be at the same store month after month after month after month after month because something, a 20-person sales force and they're hiring 10 people once a month.
That's probably a pretty good barometer.
And
it
affects us too, Craig. We see it with our trainers. This would be ones where our trainers are physically involved and they're there firsthand.
Sure.
And they're pouring their guts into it, their life. They care about what they do for a living. And they see these people get mistreated right from the start.
Yeah, man.
Right at the time they come in to come for their interview, they can see how they're being treated, and they can see how they're being onboarded. They can see how the management is running their store.
Right. Forget
and
everything those guys at AutoMax told you. Here's how we do it at Slam Bam Motors.
And they are like, Ernie, I can't come back and I can't in good conscience recruit somebody to put into this dealership.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, that's a whoa.
Well, I think that's
can't do that.
I think that's illustrative of a process that's probably flawed in how the top leadership at those dealerships are selecting their middle managers. And sometimes
no doubt.
you know what I mean.
You're
I mean,
spot
sometimes
on, man.
they're making poor selection decisions when it comes to who they promote to sales manager, general sales manager, F&I manager, whatever you want to call it. That's probably the bigger issue right there than necessarily the new sales recruits that AutoMax brings in.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
Well, you talked about it where you lost an employee because you recognized they weren't ready to take the next step. They needed further development, and they were wooed away.
Yeah.
And that's perhaps what, is a result.
Yeah. I mean, it rises. Everything rises and falls with leadership, and Mark says that all the time we're together, every time we're together, and he's exactly right about that. And
all the cliches are true.
They are.
Servant leadership is real.
Yep.
The more I can help Ernie, Ernie's been with me. Ernie literally was the first one. I came up with this 21 years ago or whatever it was. I was by myself for a year and a half and paid all the dumb tax I did.
Sure.
Made a zillion mistakes. But once I got it figured out, then I thought, well, okay, I'm kind of capped at my income here, man. I can only work so many weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a ceiling here. So how do you get wealthy? Well, on the efforts of other people.
Right.
So I ran into Ernie.
Yep.
We met, and I said, so here's my idea. You want to come aboard? And Ernie was the first trainer we brought aboard. And then, obviously over the years, I saw his talent and, his heart and his vision and mind positively affecting people's lives, our dealers that we deal with, and the potential new hires and our trainers and everything matched up in the way that we think. Mm-hmm. And so I've tried as best I can over the years to pour into Ernie. Ernie pours into the other people. My son Joe has come
a long way.
Long way.
He's fantastic. It's fantastic.
He's my main point with you guys, and he does a great job.
He's tremendous.
Period. End of story.
He started 13 years ago, and it was like, what do I do? I said, well, pick up the phone and call people and ask them if they need people. What? I graduated from college with 2 degrees, cum laude, and blah blah. Okay, well. You came to me for a job, dude.
Right.
So here's how you start. And he came from that, and I don't know, something clicked.
He's now you when you were younger as well.
He is me 30 years ago.
Yeah.
He's just...
he's got the vision of what he's trying to achieve, and we're going to get there.
Yeah, no question.
But just getting back to the topic of leadership for a second, though.
Yeah,
one of the things we also talk about a lot is when you're managing a sales team or you're managing a group of managers or whatever it is. I mean, we try to put together development plans for everybody, because to try to put everybody in the same box, if you will, and try to manage everybody the same way. Everybody has different motivational triggers. Everybody has different ways that they need to be managed or led or motivated. And it's important that you ask them what those motivational triggers are, because it's amazing how many people figure that or assume that they can use the same philosophy or methodology when it comes to managing and leading people, and that everybody's going to respond the same way, and it doesn't work that way.
You're exactly right. Yeah. And we see it every day.
Yep.
And we think, typically, guys like us think money's the major motivator.
It's not.
And it absolutely is not.
No.
It just, you can look at survey after survey after survey, and it's 3rd, 4th, 5th. People want to feel like they're in on things.
Yeah.
They want to feel like they're appreciated for their work well done. They, if they have personal problems, they want to be able to feel like they could literally come to the VP and say, boss, like my life's crumbling.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's why I sucked for the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
But, hang in there with me.
Yeah. Purpose, appreciation, and respect. PAR, we talk about it all the time.
Say that again.
Purpose, appreciation, and respect. I mean, we talk about it all the time.
Do you?
And it's something that you have to have sort of inherent in every interaction you have with your team members.
Right.
And
well, you hit on something. To your point, it's the middle management is difficult because it was, the way I got my first management job, it was like, I sold more cars, a lot more cars. Right. Yeah. So it was like, it wasn't at the dealership I was selling at, but I saw an ad. I answered the ad, and the first question out of the guy's mouth was, "How many cars you sell last year?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, 340." Oh, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
And it's like I ended up getting a job living at the interview.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then all I did was learn from he was an animal.
Right.
And so all I learned how to do was be an animal.
Sure.
I didn't get any management training.
No.
Luckily, along the way, just, I don't know, reading and just going to conferences and just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just stuff I became a decent leader. But it was like mostly, and then what did I do? I did the same damn thing. I took all my top salespeople off the damn floor and made them sales managers.
Yeah.
It was like,
but at least when you ascended to that position, you had the mindfulness and the intentionality to go out and try to expand your horizons and learn different things.
Yeah,
and
luckily.
I think so many people in our business get, and in a lot of businesses, I think they get sort of stuck in a rut and they stop learning. And if I don't learn something new every day, I didn't have a good day. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, I'm the least original guy in the room, but I'm a great copier.
God, I say that all the time.
And I always try to pick something up every day that I can apply to our business that'll help me sell one more car, write one more repair order, write $1 more of gross profit, or and whether that's through social media or through reading or through podcasts or anything along those lines. I mean, there's so many great resources out there in places like LinkedIn and things like that. If you follow the right people, you surround yourself with the right people, you can learn a lot.
LinkedIn is a very, I'm sorry, Ernie, LinkedIn is a very unused resource in our business. It's amazing. We get so much more business from LinkedIn than we do from Facebook. Facebook's fun. Yeah. And it's kind of,
from a retailer standpoint, though, I heard a great say the other day. A guy told me, he said, "There's no greater collection of 800 plus credit scores in the world than on LinkedIn." Yeah. He's exactly right about that. Fact. So talk about a target-rich environment.
You bet, man. Especially for your Mercedes sports
right,
store.
There you go. Yeah.
I was curious how much of your day is spent with people versus everything else that you have to do.
Oh, during the normal business hours, a large chunk is spent with other people, interacting with our leaders or our team members and stuff like that. And then it's really as I said, I'm an early riser. I usually get up around 4:30 and I'll, have a cup of coffee, catch up on emails or whatever and work out. And then, when I'm over breakfast, get the kids out the door, help my wife out, and then I'll consume a little bit more, but I'm in the office by 7:30 and I'm rocking and rolling. So
I don't get you guys that get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. I don't get it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is everybody looks at, he's the owner of the dealership. He makes all this money. It's all so easy.
Right. Right.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's fun. I mean, I enjoy it.
That's his point. It's a challenge. It's huge.
No way is
the day it stops being fun is the day it's probably time to hang it up.
Yeah,
and
man.
I've always said that.
Yeah.
And,
Well, you said something earlier that I think is so true, and we talk about a lot. You said something along the lines of the difference between management or managing and leadership and leading, because you really don't manage people. That's where we get in trouble. I think is you're not going to manage people.
You lead them.
Right. You lead them. You develop them.
Correct.
You manage processes.
Correct.
Ben Stock the other day on Facebook wrote something about. He said compressed margin. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Compressed margins are due. I think he said mostly. I would say
I saw the
part.
quote. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw the quote. I know which one you're talking about. I don't remember it exactly.
Lack of development,
yeah.
And I added a comment. I said, I think it starts further back than there. I think it starts with the recruiting the proper talent.
Yep.
Onboarding that talent, because I'm telling you, man, that's where we lose. I'm thinking, and I have no specific data to back this up, only anecdotal, but I'm here to tell you that 50% of our sales turnover happens in the first hours at the store
I
after they're
couldn't agree
hired.
with you more.
Now, they might hang around and grab a few checks from you, but they've mentally checked out within hours.
Yeah.
Because of
You know what I always thought was
onboarding,
fascinating? The guy from Zappos. What's his name? Tony. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
And he supposedly after like 3 months or something like that, he offers people $1,000 to quit or something like that.
Yes.
Go do something. I mean,
That's
that's
right.
just so fascinatingly,
that's ballsy.
reverse psychology type stuff. I mean,
That's
but man,
ballsy.
it's a great way to find out, who's genuine and who's engaged in a player and who's just who's not engaged.
For the grand, if somebody takes you up on it, that's a savings.
Well, that's how he looks at it. Yeah, and he's right.
Over the production, the 5-card Fred's walking around, man. You don't need
takes
it.
a lot of chutzpah to do do that, but
it does.
Yeah,
it really does.
But
it's interesting.
Yeah,
also, it probably builds a very strong culture too, though.
It does. I think it does. I mean, hey, listen, make no mistake about it. We kind of overhauled things in our organization 5 years ago with Mark's help, and we're still working on it though, and we're still a long way from where we'd all like to be, and it's just we're never going to arrive or get there. And I think once you think that you've got there or you've arrived, you're in trouble.
Well, when did you have the Mercedes-Benz? Wasn't
April of last year.
Okay, so that now increases to the level of everything that you're doing in terms of responsibility,
correct,
management.
Yeah.
How's that interaction been?
It's been great. I mean, I'm blessed. I have a very good, strong group of core leaders that have been with our organization for a while and represent our company well, understand what is important and what we value, and they carry out that vision every day, and that's enabled us to grow. But it's always a challenge though. They have challenges just like I have challenges, and but we try to talk about it a lot and talk through it and go from there.
What's it been like with a different manufacturer?
Well, it's been interesting having really cut my teeth and spent the majority of my time with Asian imports in Acura, Honda, and Hyundai to then go over to dealing with two German companies. Two distinct German companies. It's been interesting. It's been a learning curve, and they have their own idiosyncrasies and ways of doing things, and you kind of have to, learn your way. And it's like getting married and then dating afterwards. You know what I mean? But it's been they've been great. Mercedes-Benz is a great company, and so is Porsche.
That customer's
great
different.
teams. They are, but by and large, it's been refreshing that. The interactions have been so positive with the majority of people, and that's been good.
I remember taking my Benz over to Mercedes-Benz of Atlantic City. It's been there forever.
Yeah, sure.
And they just built this massive building down there. It's pretty impressive. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty impressed me anyway, because they were operating out of a toilet down there.
Yeah.
But when I'd bring my car in there for service, I can distinctly remember we're sitting there, drinking coffee, and they had a TV in a lounge set up, and I was there for an oil change, and another guy was there for an oil change, and I was driving a 500 CSL or a 550. I think it was the first one was a 500, I think.
CLS.
CLS
500, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
great car.
It was freaking awesome.
The lines on that car are phenomenal. That was a great design.
So we had an office in Utah.
Oh. What part? You in Park City or in Salt Lake City?
Just Alpine.
Oh, okay.
Right outside of
Salt Lake.
Yeah. We bought a house out there, a condo.
Love Utah.
It was
love it.
beautiful.
Park City is one of my favorite places.
Gorgeous.
Love it there.
And Sundance is really very cool.
I ski, yeah.
So we have an office out there, and long story short, we ended up shutting it down. Well, I had my car shipped out there, and I had a smaller Benz. What was I driving? I don't know. Whatever.
C-Class, E-Class?
Yeah, it was a C-Class.
C-Class, yeah.
So I had that delivered out there.
Sure.
So then when we closed up shop, I said, well, I'll just drive it home. And it was a lease, and I got to Boomer, Nebraska, and the thing breaks down.
Oh, man.
I pull into this gas station. This guy's standing next to the gas station. I'm talking to the gas station attendant. I said, is there a shop around here? And it's like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. And the guy says, yeah, man, I got this shop, and my tow truck's right out here, my wife and my daughter, and I'll tow you down to my shop. And I'm thinking, okay, this is a bad made-for-TV movie. They're going to take me down there, kill me, chop me up into little pieces.
Right.
this shop was like huge, unbelievable,
Really?
diagnostic equipment everywhere.
Independent shop?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Boomer, Nebraska.
I don't even know where that is.
Right?
But anyway,
Nobody does.
Yeah.
So he couldn't. He diagnosed the motor was done. The car was done. So he calls his buddy, and they flatbed me to Westminster, Colorado, which is the closest Mercedes store, and this Frank Lloyd Wright designed Mercedes dealership.
Yeah.
A thing of, really a work of art for a car dealership. And
that's not compliant anymore, by the way.
no,
That's not Auto House approved.
oh, is that right?
I bet not.
No kidding.
No, Mercedes is they're very particular about their facilities. So,
Well, I would think they would be.
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. So, long story short, I end up knowing the general manager. It was like 1 in a million. He says, look, Craig, we just got in this new Mercedes, this new style of Mercedes. He says, I got a triple black one out on the pad there. Why don't you take it for a drive? And it was that 500. And it was like, oh,
it's a great car. It was a great design. It still is a great design, but that was really ahead of its time, that design.
Everybody copied
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah,
Volkswagen.
that was ahead of its time.
Hyundai, everybody.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Great car.
I get a ticket 15 minutes after signing.
Taking delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
State Highway Patrol, I was doing like 118 or something. I said, dude, I'm sorry, man. I said, I had no clue.
He probably stopped you just because he wanted to know what it was.
Didn't give me a ticket.
Yeah.
He did his own walk around on the car.
Yep.
Didn't give me a ticket.
There you go.
So,
That's funny.
God, I get sidetracked with those stories, man. That's
Yeah, but anyway, I couldn't agree with you more, though. Leadership is so important. So it's a big part of what we do.
yeah. Yeah.
What we strive to do.
In teaching, I mean, how do you go about teaching that? Again, middle management. That's I don't really like that word.
Just
but I guess,
everyone in the dealership.
yeah.
It's kind of-
How do we develop those people? Because it's so important.
Yeah.
How do we give them a career path to ultimately end up in a position similar to yours,
Right.
or similar to your GMs, or how I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
If I was back in a store today in retail, I would not know how to do it. How do I train a person to be an effective leader?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think you hit on a little bit with developing. You said you got to develop everyone differently. That
Sure.
is obvious. So you have to know what their quote unquote why is.
Sure.
Right. What's really truly important to them? Is it family? Is it money? Is it fame? Is it a new house? A bigger boat?
Sure.
And okay, well, this is what motivates this man or woman, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But other than that,
Well, there's
I
that
don't know how do
there's
it.
that career path, that leadership growth path, and stuff like that. But I also think that not enough emphasis gets put on becoming a real rock star salesperson or a rock star service advisor, and all the benefits that can bring. I think you guys have had Frank from Piazza Honda in Springfield.
Yeah.
Has he been on the show?
No.
He's him and I talked.
Frank and
He's going to be on.
I mean, there's a guy. I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
he's
$100 a month, man.
He's a machine, and he works the crowd and works referrals and works social media as good as anybody. I don't think Frank takes too many ups. I don't think Frank's out watching the lot, if you know what I mean.
Not at all.
And that's one area where I think we need to do a better job in coaching and developing and training salespeople, is getting them to understand that your first year, you probably need to rely on fresh ups and on your circle of influence, people in your life. But beyond that,
personal branding.
it's all about referrals and repeat business and personal branding. Exactly.
So NADA has a curriculum to become a dealer.
Yeah.
Right. Is there a way in which a dealership or can they have the responsibility, or who would have it, to have a curriculum to develop those positions?
Yeah.
Throughout the dealership.
Yeah.
Is that, like you talked about, an apprentice program before we started the podcast for techs?
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought that, like you're describing, for sales and especially for sales in every department, that it should be an apprenticeship program. Almost every other skill set, labor set, there is an apprentice program where you learn and develop, and to make it a career. We don't seem to be able to do that. Is it just because there's not enough time to do that, or
I think it's a combination of a couple things. I think certainly just not having the foresight, or maybe being a little bit lazy and not putting that together is one thing. And guilty as charged right here. We need to do a better job on that. We're actively working on that ourselves. But I also think that it boils down to, getting from lot guy to become a dealer and what that path looks like. There's so many factors. There's so many circumstances along the way that will play into how that person develops.
Yes.
And, today I was telling you guys before we started here, my father started our company in 1983. He's a self-made guy. He grew up on the streets in Norristown, Pennsylvania, had no money, played college basketball, became a very good basketball player, and actually got invited by the Chicago Bulls to attend their training camp in 1972.
Oh, no kidding.
Had aspirations of playing professional basketball. He was a point guard at Salisbury State in Maryland. And anyway, gets invited to the Chicago Bulls training camp, 1972, goes out, and they end up cutting him because he's too short. At that time, 1972, you basically had to be 6 foot to be in the NBA. There was no little guys running around the NBA.
Yeah, very.
So he gets cut and went and played for the Virginia Squires, was an ABA team and stuff like that, but ultimately ends up getting out of it. Yeah, and ultimately ends up getting out of it. And he has a decision. My mom's pregnant with my brother, and he's got a decision to make. He's either going to go become a cop or he's going to go sell cars. And he decides, obviously, to go sell cars, and the rest is history. But
good choice.
so he was largely in retail his entire career, except for a brief stint with American Honda Motor Company in 1978, which is the year I was born, and then with my brother, and then with me just having arrived, Honda paid like $10,000 a year to their reps back then. I mean, it was like no money,
way.
So he had to get
That's
back.
That's why all those guys got caught taking money under the table for allocation.
Yeah, exactly. He was Jack Billmeyer and Arrogance and Accords, a good book to add that to your list.
Yeah,
that was a good book.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he gets back into retail and had an opportunity to buy Kraus Honda in Emmaus, Pennsylvania, which is now our store, Lehigh Valley Honda, with his business partner, Vince Piazza. And when he did that and decided to do that, he did it with Vince's help. And my dad put everything he had together to come up with $50,000 to buy 50% of that store.
Wow.
That was the franchise and the real estate.
Wow.
And the real estate.
Now, how many zeros would you have to add to that today?
Man.
So the dynamics have changed, But the amazing thing about this country is that story is still possible, and there's a lot of cynics out there that think that it's not.
No,
I think that it is still possible. So, is it more difficult in retail automotive? Absolutely. There's no question about it. But there's other opportunities. I mean, there's industries out there, whether it's apps on these phones or whatever. I mean, if you have an idea and you have a vision, you don't need to spend, $10 million on real estate, $5 million on blue sky, and $2 million on, parts and used cars to get going.
Right. Your brick and mortar can be downsized a little bit.
But there still is great opportunities in retail automotive. And as an industry, we have to do a better job at garnering more consideration. And that's an area where I think, companies like auto. Well, I just think that there's a lot of people that just aren't considering retail automotive for a variety of reasons.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, in order to get these people to come work in the industry, we've got to get them to consider it first.
Yes.
So if it's not even on the list of things they're considering as a career path, whether it's young people or people that are in their late 20s, early 30s, maybe screwed around in their 20s and now woke up one day and decided, oh my gosh, I got to get my act together here. Getting them to consider retail automotive and all the benefits and opportunities that it presents, we have to do a better job as an industry educating. We can't just say, well, we're going to throw an ad out there anymore and people are going to consider it. I mean, an element of the population is going to respond to that, but overall, we have a job to do in terms of educating the broader public. And I know NADA is working on resources to help support dealers in that endeavor. I can tell you that up in the Lehigh Valley, our local dealer association is doing the same thing. But just me personally, I've tried to be more engaged and more active with the local school districts and parent-teacher organizations because, frankly, we've got to get the parents bought in to considering retail automotive.
10 years from now.
Right. I mean, there's a lot's been said lately about the value of a college education, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. Listen, I graduated from college. I'm very pro college.
Right.
But I'm pro college for things that when these kids come out of school, they're going to be gainfully employable.
Right.
In other words, if you come out of college with a degree in art history and $150,000 in debt,
right,
you have a very limited pool of opportunity in fields that require an art history
Almost
degree.
None.
Yeah. But the problem is that individual's been told that if their entire life that if they go to college and they get a degree, they're going to come out and they're going to get a job right away making put a number on it.
Right.
We all know that doesn't work that way.
Nope.
So, again, I go back to I think that we just need to do a better job at illustrating and characterizing what this industry affords people as a career opportunity.
Right. Well, here's the thing that we've been preaching, and in some dealers, not enough, in my opinion, take us up on this, is there is, and these stats are a little off, but there's an excess of $1 trillion in student loan debt right now out there. The average is $38,400 per person.
Yep.
About $400 a month.
Yep.
Here's some interesting statistics. This year, in 2018, nearly 70% of the enrollees in the college were female. More females go to school longer. More females graduate from college than men. So you got a lot of opportunities there. A college graduate's main fear, it's not public speaking, it's not dying, it's not terrorism. It's that college, it's that loan, that tuition repayment, man. Freaks them out.
Yeah.
They can't get it out of their mind. It looks astronomical.
Are you sure it's not public speaking? Did you ever hear that? You ever hear that Jerry Seinfeld joke about, number one fear most people have is public speaking. Number two is death. So at a funeral, they'd rather be the guy in the coffin than the one giving the eulogy. I always love that line. That's a great one, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. It's
But
true
anyway,
for some people.
I get it. I get what you're saying, though, about the debt.
So, student loan reimbursement program.
Sure.
Hey, I didn't graduate from college.
Yeah.
And
you're doing okay.
Been very fortunate,
Right? Yeah.
just luck and blessed, fortunate, whatever. However, I think in today's world in the automobile industry and going forward, you have to have the intellect to at least be able to understand some concepts the way that our business is going, because the technology is different than it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and you have to have the ability to be able to think. It's not the fast talking, sharp, slick.
No.
Got an answer for everything.
It's
right
totally not.
It's not.
It's
that
a relationship
anymore.
business. It still is a relationship business, and I think it will be a relationship business for the foreseeable future.
It better
That's why I think that this whole movement for an Amazon-style shopping experience for car shoppers and people that are in the market for cars. I don't know. I think we're decades away from that.
Yeah,
still,
I agree.
This is something I was going to ask you.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think the only ones talking about it are us. I don't think the retail customers thinking that way.
Like
the
digital
Carvana.
retailing. There's a lot of buzz around digital retailing and digital retailing solutions, right?
Right.
Okay. I know a lot of people, a lot of people that have thrown the kitchen sink at digital retailing. Brian Benstock being one of them. You know what I mean? There's not a more progressive, forward-thinking guy than Brian in a tier one metro market, number one market in the country. And, I know he's selling cars, but in the overall scheme of things, the amount of business that is being fully consummated online and via that digital retailing solution, I think is not as much as people would think.
I don't know.
Yeah. Is it acting as a lead capture mechanism? Absolutely. Basically these digital retailing tools have become our payment calculators, our trade evaluation tools, and our credit app tools, all wrapped into one package instead of through three different vendors.
That's right.
So there's a lot of merit to it in that respect.
Yeah.
I would never argue that point.
Right.
But the sheer desire and volume of customers that are taking the process from start to finish exclusively online. I don't think it's there, guys.
No.
There's too many variables still at play. I was talking to some folks from Honda about this the other day. The reality of it is, I don't know how we could possibly get there en masse in the near future until we have alignment amongst the banks, the governments, state governments. I mean, in Pennsylvania, you still need a wet signature on a triplicate MV form, which is the registration document that says you own the car. So how can we possibly have an Amazon shopping experience with those government requirements and regulations? Same thing with banks.
It's literally impossible.
Some banks still require wet signatures on their bank contracts.
Yeah. How about can you dehorse people? Can you put them on a dealer tag in PA?
We can do that.
Yeah, for 3 or 4 days or whatever, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So I just, again, it's still a relationship business. And I think the people that are good at establishing relationships, growing their referral business that stems from those relationships. Yeah. Too many of our salespeople, it's just, okay, I sold a car, on to the next one that walks through the front door, and it's the wrong way. If I was selling cars today, I'd be parked in the service drive, and I'd say to my dealer, I want a desk in the service drive, and I want to take internet leads.
Yep. Speaking of Benstock, it was 2012. It was the first year for AutoCon. It was a big conference out at the area in Vegas.
Sure.
Only lasted a couple of years, but it was big and it was really good. But it was just really expensive. I think Sean Wolfington was involved in that and some other big players. But they put Benstock. His speaking slot was at lunch.
During lunch,
sure. Which is a brutal speaking spot. I mean, it's like, I've done it once. Yeah. It's not when you want to speak. But,
no, I bet.
But he brought up the fact that he was developing a sales force just for the service line.
Yeah, the white lab coats and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Brian was very forward thinking in that respect.
Well, you got just two blaring opportunities. The amount of work being, the estimate on the client's car, $2,000. Would you like to see how you can trade out of it and keep your payments the same? Blah blah blah.
Right.
Or the lease end. You're 2-3 months and you get that information. You would be interested in trading out of that and keeping your payments in around the same what you're paying now.
Sure.
So he went through his whole thing, and I'm going, wow, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Man. And so afterwards, I went up and introduced myself to him, and I said, here's who I am. Here's what I do. He said, yeah, I've heard of you. I said, I can fill your service department with people. He says, you know what? You're the only guy that's come to me and asked for business. He said, you call my guy, and Jason Graciano at the time was his guy.
He's down in Florida now.
Yeah. Right. So we called him, and bang.
Yeah.
And he's been on the automotive HR program, the recruiting platform that you were on. You're not on anymore, are you? Or
we do not. We're not on Automotive anymore. Yeah. We're consolidated into our HR system. But Automotive is a great platform, and it was just one of those things where we had some redundancy and we had to make a choice. But I wholeheartedly endorse it as a great system.
Andy,
you have 16 open slots at your dealerships right now that you're advertising for people for.
Correct. That's right.
What are you using? Are you going right to Indeed or?
Yeah, we do it all through KPA, through our HR platform.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we push everything out through them to Indeed and to ZipRecruiter, and
then Zip. It goes to a bunch of others from Zip. So,
but I have to say, the most effective recruiting campaigns that we do are the ones through you guys.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
There's a shameless plug for you, but it's the truth. It's the truth. So
well, it's all we do.
Yeah,
and it's like
there's so much more to it, Craig, than posting an ad. I mean, come on. It's just there's so much more to it.
It is legit a science.
Exactly.
It's a matter of words. It's just like SEO. It's just like selling cars online.
Yeah.
You got to know what it's got to be seen.
Yeah.
And the only way for it to be seen is proper SEO. And it's the same thing with a help wanted ad.
Yep.
It's like,
and then it's lead management.
Because if KPA, because they're pushing those ads out somewhere, right?
Right.
Because ain't nobody coming to your website looking for a job.
Not much, no.
I mean, they're
onesie twosies at most.
Right.
Yeah.
So unless that's being used, because I went over your site the other day, what I really liked, and I want to talk about it a little bit before we run out of time, is talk to the dealer, I think you call it.
Okay.
I think that's brilliant, man.
I'm happy to elaborate.
Right, because from what I understood or what I read was you're inviting customers to email you.
Absolutely.
With specific questions, concerns.
Anything that's on their mind.
Right. And
goes right
you
to me
answer
and
everybody.
Absolutely. I also respond to every review on Google, Facebook, and everything. I do that myself.
Say what?
I do. I think
it's that important. To every review?
Yeah. Well, the negative ones. I do respond to the negative. I don't respond to all the positive ones.
No kidding.
Yeah. Absolutely. hey, it's reputation management, buddy. And at the end of the day, my face is on the building. Man. So, I'm not going to farm that out to somebody else. So
that's impressive.
Yeah. So you want to hear the story on Talk to the Dealer?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I got that idea from a guy in my 20 group. There's a great dealer owner operator down in Florida. His name is John Marazzi. I don't know if you know John or not.
Sure.
Brandon Honda and some Toyota. So John is arguably, he's top 3 of people that are operators in this country.
Yeah.
Seriously, the guy is
he's a
just
madman, man. He's strong.
Phenomenal. So he's in my Honda 20 group, and he gave me that idea a number of years ago, and I thought, what a simple, straightforward, why the heck didn't I think of that idea? You know what I mean? So the thing I like about it is that, with 5 stores, with 400 associates, tens of thousands of customers, I can't be on the front lines in every department every day, so I leverage technology to say to people, hey, if there's something you want to speak to me about, good, bad, or indifferent, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, you name it, there's a button on my website. You simply go to there, click on the button, put in your information and what you want to talk about, and I'll get back to you. And it comes to me and me only. So, and it's funny, I get leads, I get sales leads, I get service leads, I get people looking for jobs, I get people that are not happy about stuff, I get people that are happy about stuff. And it's just a great avenue for me to stay in touch with our customers. And it's a simple thing. And John sells a lot of cars at his stores, so he gets a lot more leads through that platform than I do. Yeah. But it's a great idea. A lot of guys, it's funny, a lot of people are scared about it.
Right? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if somebody's unhappy, I want to know about it.
Right.
If somebody's happy, I want to know about it because I want to give it's an opportunity to give somebody credit and accolades for doing a good job. I mean, why wouldn't you want to know about this stuff?
The unhappy ones are reaching out to a lot of people, man.
Yeah. So as I like to say, I mean, in my market, I'm 99% sure I'm the only one that does that. So that's a competitive advantage for me as far as I'm concerned. So
I was going to say, it's almost part and parcel with your philosophy of trying to attract different people, new people, more people, talented people, educated people to the automotive industry.
Yeah.
And I loved what you're talking about, your forward thinking of going after youth and their parents. So I was just curious, with how you go about this, is it going to make a difference for you?
That's to be determined, and let me explain why. So, friend of the program, Troy Spring from Dealer World is a friend of mine. I'm a client of Troy's. Love that guy. And so he and I have been working together on a couple different initiatives that sort of are going to wrap around a platform that I'm developing that's going to largely be focused on recruiting, but recruiting from the standpoint of explaining what our culture is, what our values are, and what this industry represents. And it's really piggybacks what NADA is working on, what our local dealer association is working on, all that type of stuff, because we have to use electronic media, the internet, social media, in order to get the word out there. Because
you need to be video. You need to be the face. When they're
all in production. Troy's got them. They're all in final production right now with Troy and his team. We shot our first round of videos.
Good.
We're going to do more. But we've got to build that bank. And YouTube. So many of these young kids. I mean, listen, I have a 13-year-old son. He's on YouTube all the time.
All the time.
And I know that kids that are 10 years older than him spend a lot of time on YouTube.
Well, the demo is really weird. When we look at our numbers, the demographic on YouTube is like crazy. Male to female. I mean, it's like huge.
I know.
And the age group is 20. I think,
and females are on Pinterest, which is kind of that's a sort of I guess you could call it like a YouTube shoot off.
Right.
I mean, it's
or Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Do you have an Instagram account? I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
You do?
Yeah, Andy Wright 675. Yeah, absolutely.
Nuts, man. I'm sorry. I didn't. Yeah. I'm like.
Or no, I'm sorry. No, it's not. It's ANDWRIG. Sorry. It's ANDWRIG. I think that's what it's. I don't even know my own Instagram.
But you were very focused then on changing the perception of the industry.
Sure.
Yeah. That's key.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's like I've said a million times, people get down to it. And it's like, I guess I could always sell cars.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't want to make it about me or my personal brand, but at the end of the day, if somebody, I'd like to think that somebody sees something that I say or do, and they say, "Oh, he seems like a pretty good guy. Maybe I'll go talk to his company about working for him." And
it's no more complicated than that.
You know, it's not necessarily about my ego as much as it is about it's how we have to resort to recruiting people.
Right. People don't, as a dealer, it's awesome. You know, you're second generation, but we deal with third, fourth, fifth generation dealers, and they make a big deal about it. You know, 100 years in business. Well, the potential new hire could care less, but they look at you the way what I'm hearing you say and where the direction you're going to go. They look at you as their supervisor, whether you're not directly, but they're going to work for you.
Yeah.
They're not going to work for the building or the sign or your dad. They're going to work for you.
Yeah.
And so you have to sell them. Half our job, our funnel starts like this.
Yeah.
Number of applicants.
Sure.
And then they start to ghost. Ghosting's a real thing now.
Oh, I know. We all know.
It's ghosting during the application process. It's ghosting after the formal offer to hire.
Yeah.
It's like, where'd you go? I mean, you didn't show. And it's troublesome. So we have to spend more money to create a bigger funnel on top. I mean, we get like obscene amount of applications.
Yeah.
To end
I
up
don't
with
know how you guys do it, but you're right, you do.
But to end up with, a handful of really good candidates. So it's weird how it goes, but we have to sell that candidate.
Yep.
Very, very soft sell. But we got to, hey, we think, based on your previous this or whatever, we think you'd be awesome at whatever, we're looking for. But they got to be talked into it.
Yeah.
Because their Aunt Mary's saying, "You're going to do what?"
Yeah,
You're
it's like
cars?
I always tell people all the time. It's kind of like that conversation where mom and dad are out with their friends and they're sitting around and they say, well, what's Johnny doing these days? Well, he's selling cars. Ooh,
too bad.
We need to work towards a point where people don't react that way.
Right. Yeah.
That's what
he's selling cars until.
Yeah. It's a stop on the way.
Right.
Yeah.
But that then is part of the process of transparency and everything else that and you talked about the online not being, but I imagine that's going to change in the sense that people, if they really want an easier process, and I was curious what steps you guys are doing within the store to make it easier without, you said, okay, you're not quite bought into the full online for various reasons. What are you doing that makes it easier?
Sure. So, I mean, we've done a myriad of things up until this point, and we've tried a myriad of things up until this point, and some have worked and some have not. But what it boils down to is this, is that if somebody wants to start the process online and pick up where they left off when they walk in the store, we can absolutely accommodate that. The biggest bottleneck that we run into is really managing the F&I process and getting in there, because F&I has become such a large part of our profitability.
Yeah, most of it.
Shortcutting that process or not fully executing that process effectively really makes the profitability equation a big challenge.
You bet.
And I'm not saying anything that's not in Group 1 or Penske Automotive's quarterly reports.
It's all the same.
That's not peeking behind the curtain type stuff.
Correct.
So what we're working on right now is trying to leverage different technology platforms, whether it's our CRM, our DMS, our F&I menu provider, things like that, to streamline the process, because so much of the bottleneck revolves around double data entry and just things being so disparate and fragmented that we've got to get things unified. The problem, guys, quite frankly, is the DMS companies, the big DMS companies, which fortunately in my Acura, Honda, and Hyundai stores, I have Dealer Built, who is a fantastic DMS company.
Awesome.
Guys, they just get it, and I would highly encourage your listeners to look at
I know
Dealer
Veronica Dunford real well.
And Mike Trasati. A local. He's a Philly guy.
Yeah.
He's moving to Texas, but he's a Philly guy for now. He might have moved though, but he's a great guy. Be another great guy to have on your show.
Yeah.
But the big DMS companies like Reynolds and Reynolds and CDK, because they've kind of set up these closed off environments where best in class solutions have a hard time integrating and things like that. Having a one size fits all or a unified platform that's inferior in a lot of respects along the way makes it challenging. And then the other challenge is because they have all these roadblocks up. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that companies like Dealer Built, which the DMS is the hub because that's where all the transaction data is ultimately going to end up or resides.
Right.
So having that seamless process where we can, capture that customer information in the CRM, effectively get it over to your desking tool to then ultimately get to your DMS so that it can ultimately get to your F&I menu presentation system so we can go out to the customer in the showroom, use an iPad to present our menu and to do things from a fully transparent, compliant fashion.
Yes.
Right. These things sound easy. Yeah. You can whiteboard the heck out of them, flowchart the heck out of them, and gosh, it's like, what's the big deal? Right. It's a challenge.
Yeah, well, and you got to.
It's a big challenge.
And time, you got to keep that. I mean, that's the biggest complaint.
Yeah,
it's 45 minutes to get into the box. You know, and it's like I saw those. I had to giggle when it first started. 4 or 5 years ago, where they were talking. There was a big push towards having the salesperson to handle the entire deal, front to back, and it's like. There ain't no way, man.
And I would challenge, the people that are doing. I mean, are those salespeople are they AFIP certified? I mean, our finance managers are AFIP certified.
Right.
I mean, they're dealing with sensitive information, financial information.
Ernie got AFIP certified.
It's a bear.
It's a booger,
it's a bear.
Man.
It's every one of our finance managers ultimately goes through that process because that's an important part. We think that's important.
That's fantastic.
So again, and then invariably customers complain about the voluminous amount of paperwork that they have to sign. I mean, hey, listen, we're dealing with the government there. I mean, if it were up to us, you'd sign a buyer's order, you'd sign a finance contract and the registration document.
Happy
all the other
motoring.
stuff is largely CYA in so many ways, and
it is.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you sign more paperwork when you buy a car than when you buy a house. How's that make sense?
It doesn't.
But it's the truth.
A couple quick things here.
Sure.
Anthony Santangelo. Please tell Mr. Wright I say hi. I've been there 4 times
He's
and
a great
love, capital LOVE.
Go all in, baby.
Yeah. His GM, Ladd.
Ead. Yeah.
Ead. He's a great dude.
Yep.
All right. So before we need to get to a couple more live reads, but we have something on our program that we call Fabulous Fibs.
Fabulous Fibs. Okay.
Fabulous Fibs.
Okay.
Where you get a chance to win a prize.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
Sounds
here's
good
how
to me.
this works.
Okay.
I'm going to read off 3 statements to you. 2 are false. 1 is true. Your job is to tell us which statement is true.
Okay.
So I'm going to read off 3 statements.
Fire away.
1 is true, 2 are false. So, statement number 1. As of 2017, I'll repeat these twice.
It's okay. Yep.
As of 2017, the average United States U.S. household spends 70% of their before-tax income. As of 2017, average U.S. household spends 70% of their before-tax income, pre-tax income. Statement number 2, the Ford F-Series is the longest-running car or light truck model in the U.S. The Ford F-Series is the longest-running car or light truck model in the U.S. Statement number 3, Craig Lockard was born and raised on a farm. Craig Lockard was born and raised on a farm. So,
wow.
So those 3.
Can I phone a friend, or is that an option? That's not an option?
Lifeline.
Ooh, so I have to pick the one that's true.
Correct.
I'm going to say that the first one is true, that Americans spend 70% of their pre-tax income. All right.
Joe does these, and he's so flippin' smart. He plays the edge on all these, man. He just makes it hard. He's not fair. That's false. 82%.
Oh, okay.
82%.
Yeah.
We spend 82% of our pre-tax income.
Right. The only reason I thought that one was true because you said pre-tax. If it was post-tax, I'd have said higher.
Right.
I'd have thought it would have been higher. You know what I mean?
Right. Suburban's the longest running truck model.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't F Series. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't F Series.
I was, in fact, raised on a farm.
Were you really?
Yep.
All right, there you go.
Far east side of Cleveland, out in the middle of nowhere.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
What kind of farm?
Well, it was a cow farm.
Okay.
but it was just too much to manage.
Yep.
So we ended up doing. We had probably 20 acres of corn, and then a whole bunch of other. We had another 10-acre garden with everything in it. We had a sugar shack out in the woods, so we make maple syrup.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of horses. Had a pig.
That's neat.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
I heard an interesting statistic the other day that I guess wasn't surprising after I thought about it, but was surprising when I first heard it. But what is the #1 agricultural state in the country?
I don't know. I would guess Nebraska.
What do you think, Ernie?
New Jersey.
It's California.
Oh, okay.
It's California.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
You know, you think of California, you think of like densely populated cities,
LA.
San Francisco, LA, San Diego, the whole 9
Yeah,
yards. But you know, there is a massive agriculture base in the state of California. It's #1 by like a lot.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That
So-
makes sense.
But hey, you know,
We build the wall. What's going to happen? Who's going to work in those places?
I don't know.
That's a whole mess, man. That could take a whole podcast.
Absolutely, you got that right.
All right, so we're going to give you another opportunity to win.
Okay,
All right. So here's the bonus question.
is this the same deal? I got to pick the true statement. Okay.
Well,
Yes.
Should be. Yeah. Well, this is a true or false.
Okay.
The professional golfer with the most wins is Sam Snead with 82. Who's second?
I believe it's Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods.
There you go.
One behind.
Yep, he's knocking on the door.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for that, you get
Wow,
from
look
my
at that.
personal collection.
No way.
Corvette.
You're giving that.
Yeah.
59 Corvette.
You've got to be kidding me. Oh,
No,
because
man.
you're putting me out of the.
I think my business partner's father has one of these cars, the real ones.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's worth a fortune.
I can't believe
Not
you're doing
that,
that.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Are we
Thank
out
you
of,
very
are
much.
we out of the
Yeah.
the whatever
This will, this,
cars?
I will
Yeah.
cherish this on my office desk.
I just I
you've
said,
had that
man, that's
forever.
really cool for
Yeah.
for Andy. So
there you go.
yeah.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
You're
very
welcome.
kind of you.
Hey,
Very
let's talk about other friends of the program here. I want to make sure we don't get them. And one is Troy, of course. With,
Sure. Okay. Troy
Dealer
Spring.
World.
Okay. Troy is a performance advertising agency, and so he kind of says, when you want more traffic, but you want less vendors, and you want to reduce your budget and fees, his company, Dealer World, can do it. Better ads with a focus on leads, and more leads, chats, phone calls, and walk-ins. Everything Dealer World does is result-oriented. From better radio and TV to better lead-generating digital and social, Dealer World can do it all, and sometimes for half the fees you're currently paying. Visit mydealerworld.com for an advertising audit to see how they can help you.
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of unfair here. Like we're all
we
big
love him.
fans of
Yeah.
Troy here,
Yeah.
and your client.
Yep.
And Troy and I have been friends for a long time, and we're legit personal friends.
Yeah. Talk about leadership and culture.
Oh,
he's got
right?
it dialed in there. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, he's got it dialed in.
question
Yeah.
about it.
His people are
His
awesome.
family life,
Yeah.
and his work life,
Yeah.
are run.
Yeah.
Run is the wrong way.
Yeah.
The way it's handled
Nah,
is
he's
just perfect, man.
He's a good man.
What makes them different as an ad agency, I think, is that because of his experience and experience of his people, they can actually consult. Like you were talking earlier, he's going to
Yes.
help you with things. Like most ad agencies are like, okay, it's marketing only, period. End of story. Here's what we do.
So many people like to throw around, that they're car people. I'm a car guy. You
Yeah.
know, that if I had $1 for every time, a
Yeah,
vendor
right.
came in and said that to me, Troy is a legit car guy.
Yeah.
Legit car guy, and a successful one.
Exactly. He gets it. He knows what dealers and general managers and variable operations managers and fixed operations managers are going through every
Right.
day.
Exactly.
Because he's done it all.
Right.
And he's made the mistakes that we all make, and he's
Correct.
had the triumphs that we all aspire to have. And
Absolutely.
that's what uniquely qualifies him and positions him to be the subject matter expert that he is.
Yeah.
And
Well, if something's not working, he can legit take a look at it and
Yeah.
see what because there's typically something internally that's screwing that up.
Yeah.
There's something that's small that no one sees.
Yeah.
And he's able to look at it from the outside.
Yeah.
And
yet,
assist.
the other thing about him, he's not a straight up yes man. I mean, he'll tell you.
Oh, that's a
if,
fact,
if
man.
You're, if you're just looking for somebody to come in and give you validation or approval, he's probably not your guy, you know. And he'll tell you, you got to change things up here. You got to mix things up here. I don't think you're making the right decision there. Blah 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 blah. And, there's a lot of value in that because, let's face it, a lot of people that run dealerships, they don't really have a lot of people to talk to.
Right?
And
who do you go to?
Yeah, exactly.
Other than a 20 group meeting every however long it is.
Right. So
speaking of those, if you ever need, I speak at a lot of 20 groups. So if your group ever needs anybody.
Yeah, I'll be sure to let you know. We're an NCM group. And
are you?
Yeah. So
Rich Ackman, do you know
Yeah,
Rich?
I know Rich real well. Rich is
awesome
Rich
guy.
has consulted for my store in the past. And
I
he's a
met
good guy.
him when he was running Tobin.
yeah.
King of Cars, that whole thing.
Yeah, Rich is a good guy. He's actually doing some work
Awesome.
with Mercedes-Benz, last I heard, with NCM.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, doing some, Mercedes has a big push right now in the certified pre-owned business.
Right.
And Rich excels in pre-owned. But he first came into our store a number of years ago with a fellow by the name of Gary House. Does that name ring a bell at all?
No.
Gary is he's sort of retired now. He's a great guy, but Rich. I've learned a lot from Rich and a lot of the people.
Man.
And NCM does a really good job on balance. They really do, and
agree.
it's been a good relationship with them and our 20 group and So
20 groups are so important.
Yeah.
Dealer,
Agreed.
If you're not in one, it's a big mistake.
And getting in a good one, our group is, our guys and gals are not just getting together to go play golf.
Right.
It's they're daily operators working their stores, and that makes a big difference because it gets a little tense in the room sometimes when the conversations turn critical and. That's why you're there.
I spoke at a real interesting one I'd never done before in Tahoe last fall. It was all controllers.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
And it was real.
Was that an NCM group?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have that controller group.
It was very interesting to see the business strictly from a numbers side. It was, and when I started talking about recruiting, it was like they had never heard stuff like that before.
Yeah.
And it was very important to them because they understand the loss of revenue. Or the actual really cost of turnover.
Sure.
So it was very cool.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
No, they get
I'm curious, when you say it gets tense or can get tense, is that because you guys are disagreeing on the information that you're hearing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, or if someone's being challenged for poorly performing in a certain area and not taking the appropriate action, I mean, that's why you're there. That's what a peer group is all about. Right. It's to challenge each other and certainly compliment each other.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's
you guys hold each other accountable then.
Absolutely.
Right. And I've been in a room where it said, well, sure, you're doing those kind of numbers. You're in, downtown Chicago, for Christ's sake. It's like, I'm in but they try to match up.
Right.
Yeah. So you're not,
Well, I mean, listen, NCM does, they're dealing with dynamics that continue to evolve and change like everything in this business.
Right.
And, there's certain things in certain states that are allowed that are not allowed in other states. And so when you're doing an apples comparison, I mean, but you kind of can, if you're paying attention, you can see through the clutter, if you will, and you can know what's legitimate and what's not. But it really just, in my opinion, it really is a matter of finding the right group with the right group of people that are the right fit, because chemistry is important.
Yeah.
And being able to challenge each other and not take it personally, but realize that that's why you're there.
Right.
And listen, I've formed a lot of great lifelong relationships with people in my 20 group, and it's been a good thing.
Yeah, well, it's so important. You got to get past the ego because, man, it's like
check it at the door.
You got to, because there's going to be a contraction. Mm-hmm. In vehicle sales.
Yeah.
I don't think I can't ever imagine it duplicate 08 and 09.
Yeah.
That I don't see happening. But
the number one issue we're facing, I got to tell you, Craig, is, in my opinion, is new vehicle affordability.
Yeah.
That's why I think that the used car market is going to continue to be robust. And as a result of that, used car values are going to continue to be robust.
Yes.
And I also think that the market is ripe for disruption from a player from like a China.
Yeah.
To come in and undercut so many of these companies that have just, the cost of their cars have gotten, I mean, the average new car is transacting for I think it's $35,000.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
I mean,
just an inventory cost.
Yeah, I mean, normally a good rule of thumb is $220 for every $10,000 you finance, and that's somebody with good credit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Right. So a $35,000 car, do the math.
Yeah, it's a house payment.
That's a house payment,
yeah.
And that's why leasing has become so prevalent.
Right, and used car leasing's coming back, which I think
could
be a little tricky.
Yeah, it's I'm surprised it actually hasn't come back with more of a vengeance.
Yeah,
it's still
I don't
Mercedes,
quite see it. That would be big.
Yeah, I don't quite see it there. I hear what you're saying, but the used car market is going to continue to be. The problem with used cars is inventory.
Yeah,
is quality cars?
Are you buying everything online, or are you going actually to the auction?
Very little. Very little. Most of the stuff we have in our used car inventory is traded or taken out of our service drive or bought off the street, and then we fill holes as needed with auction cars. But
so you're stepping up to make the new car deal and get the used. You got to have the used car. You got to have the trade.
Problem with auction cars is it's all 3.5 condition reports and lower, so it's the stuff that everybody passed on, and or it's rentals or it's frame and flood and it's all that other type of stuff, and we don't want to play in that space,
right?
But
it's tricky.
I mean, things have changed. The velocity method that Dale Pollock, a friend of mine, has espoused for so long, and he talk about a smart, innovative guy, just one of the best. But the reality of it is that if I have a used car I can sell for less than $15,000, I'll hold on to that thing like grim death. You know what I mean? Because it's going to sell. It's just a matter of when.
The 45-day trend.
Because it's a payment. It's a payment buyer. When you get right down to it, a $12,500 to $15,000 car, somebody comes in with $2,000 down, cash or trade, they can drive out of there for $250, $300 a month.
And that's the deal you have to make the gross on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is the ratio of leasing versus buying?
It depends on the market, depends on the store. I mean, Mercedes-Benz and Honda in New York City, for example, are probably 80% lease, whereas in my market, we're only 45% lease. Okay. So it all depends on the market, whereas in Nebraska, in the Midwest, it's all nominal. Buy. It's like 10% leasing. So, but it's growing. On balance, it's growing because, again, it's affordability.
Well, their interest rates have gone up, and that's changed.
The thing that just blows my mind, you see some of that stuff online where you're looking at 84-month contracts, and it's just like, don't forget about that. I mean, that guy's done.
Yeah,
there's no way to get him back.
Yeah,
I mean, he's going to be pissed when he comes out of the ether. Somebody's going to tell him he got took. It's just the next deal. He goes to try to trade a year and a half, 2 years from now. Somebody's going to tell him he got ripped off. It's just
you're seeing a lot of that in the truck market, though, and those people, they tend to keep those trucks that long.
I guess
and that's
true.
That's why you get a good used truck. You get a 3 or 4 year old used truck. They're still doing all the money and then some.
Gold.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. It is gold.
Yeah,
and that's why with a contraction coming, your used car department's got to be, and I hit 2 out of the 3. You got to be on point with your used car department.
Yeah.
You have to be on point with your finance and insurance department. Because like you said, that's where the profitability is coming on new cars for sure.
Yep.
If you had to rely on gross profit, you're operating at a huge loss.
That's right.
And the third, that you have got to be, it's got to be paying all your bills as service, as your fixed ops.
Fixed ops, yeah.
I mean, you have to be at 100% absorption. I mean, there's no, you have to be.
Right.
Somehow, some way, it's got to get there.
Yeah.
And that's all about people. And I like, pre-podcasts, like Ernie was saying, you talked about our friend Eric Gale with the Cardinal Group.
Yeah, I know Eric.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Oh, man, he's just aces. I talked to him the other day. Yeah, he's just a sweetheart. Really,
he's one of the few guys that I think has more energy than me. So,
dude, the guy is always working.
He's always on. Yeah,
it's like every once in a while he'll hit me. I say, Eric, what are you in West Coast? Yeah,
yeah.
I said, Eric, it's whatever time. I said, you're out of your mind, dude.
No, he's a good man.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Principled man.
So smart.
Yeah.
But he's done, he calls it a farm system. But that's what that group has done. They made the decision and a full-blown commitment. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to start with the lube techs, help with the schooling, help with their tools, and we are going to develop these people.
Yep.
Now, I don't know how you got to sign them up to something pretty strong because, you spend all that money on them. You don't want them leaving.
Sure.
So you got to do that. I'm sorry, man.
That's okay.
I didn't turn that darn thing off. But And you're doing something similar.
We are, but we aspire to be at the level he's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
we are scratching the surface compared to where he is.
Well, you started.
But you got to start somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I'm not just going to throw my hands up and say, "Oh, well."
Yeah, can't do it.
Yeah. That's not going to happen. So.
No. And, we talked again outside that you don't have a real problem with A-level or master techs, but, a lot of the dealers do, and the only way to get those people is to steal them, and the only way to steal them, ain't nobody moving their toolbox for $5, $6, $7, $8 an hour.
Yeah.
They're just not doing it.
Yeah.
But, I mentioned to you outside kind of half kiddingly, but we've talked to dealers into 4-day work weeks. I mean, that's what that guy, typically guy, I'd love to see more women as technicians. There's no reason why they can't be anymore.
That's right.
It's not a matter of jumping an engine with a wrench this long anymore.
Right.
It's a whole
predominantly maintenance. Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah.
So, but that 4-day work week, having 3 days off, man, you can bet me, if you get an A-level or master tech and he or she is turning 50, 55, 60 hours a week, whatever. I mean, that's a top producing person. If they're turning those kind of hours in 5 days, they're going to turn it in 4.
Right.
If you're giving them that third day off,
yeah,
they just will.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to lose the money, but man, they want that. They want that extra weekend day to party with their pals or spend time with their family.
I'd like to think they get an extra personal mental health day.
Exactly.
I mean, there's something to be said for that. Something to be said for that.
Work-life balance is becoming a big topic in the car business. It's very important because what do you do?
Well, that it's a tough question because work-life balance is important. I mean, I think the industry's come a long way, frankly. I mean, when my dad started into business, back in the early 80s, late 70s,
bell to bell.
In retail, he was bell to bell 6 days a week.
Yeah, man.
My mom always tells the story. At one point, I looked at her and I said, "Is Daddy dead?" I mean, that's, Now, that my average salesperson now is scheduled to work 48 hours a week.
48. Okay.
Now,
Right.
I mean, that's still a significant amount of time. I give it that. But, I mean, when I look at the hours that people are working in other jobs, cell phone store people and stuff like that. They're working Sundays.
Right.
We're not allowed to be open on Sunday in Pennsylvania.
Right.
So, I just.
Did you read this story about the Kelly Group up in Massachusetts?
I did.
Made a decision to close on Sundays.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think if I owned a store, what I would do is I would actually extend the hours of operation of the store itself, decrease the number of hours the salespeople work and the management works, and just add on another crew, and have shifts, and try to keep it around 43 hours. The top producer is going to be there, whatever it takes for he or she to make it.
Let's face it, Craig. And most of the top guys in good stores make their own schedule.
Right, they do.
Yeah.
And you brought up Frank Cronetti. I mean, Frank and Ali,
Rita.
Rita. They're only working 4 days a week.
Yeah.
But I mean But they got this thing down, man. I mean, they own their community.
Yeah.
And Frank,
but they work smart. They work smart. They cultivate their ownership base. They work their referrals. They work social media. They do all.
They're going to charity events. They're just not cutting a check.
Yeah.
They're at the charity.
Right.
They're not cutting a check to the local Little League. They're there at the games.
Right.
I mean, that's a pro playing for dough.
No
Amateurs play for fun.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it.
It's pretty strong now.
They got it dialed in. They get it.
Hey, look, I know you got to get out of here, man. That sucks so bad. I could sit here with you for another 2 hours. Yeah, we'd love to have you back again sometime.
That'd be great.
Would you be open to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That'd be good.
Maybe get Mark, Mark Crocco in here one time, and I'd be happy to come in with him.
Oh, let's do that.
Yeah, or we'll get Turbo back in here or something like that.
Or that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of opportunities for us, I think, to get together again, and hopefully the listeners found the conversation to be interesting, and I know a lot of the people that are listening are people in automotive and in the automotive space. And hey, listen, we got to work together. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for us to work together on a lot of the issues that we've talked about. And
there is.
Yeah. So
competition in the car business is it's a weird thing.
Yep.
Because you're so right. We should be, as an industry, talking to each other and helping each other.
Yeah.
Because we all have the same similar problems.
Yeah.
Yet, there is a guy 2 miles down the street from you trying to take your money,
Sure,
your customer. So it's kind of tricky.
It is,
but we do need to help each other.
Yeah, I think it all boils down to messaging and narrative. I always like to say control the narrative, and I think that's what I mean by that. Is that I think we can do a better job collectively working together to control the narrative and communicate what this industry can mean for people that are not in it if they choose to pursue a career in it. Pursue a career.
Yeah.
That's the key words.
Again, man, I'm just so appreciative.
Been a pleasure, guys. This is great.
Pleasure's been mine.
And talk about innovative. This is something unique that
Andy.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody else is doing. So.
No one is.
Yeah.
And it's we're committed to this for the long
Good.
haul. So
I think it's smart. It's going to build your brand, and it's going to be able to get the word out there on so many of the important topics that impact our business. And it's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's all about the guests. Too.
You just took it out without really. I mean, they don't tune into for us. I mean, it's they got gain some insight and some knowledge. So thank you for sharing.
No, my pleasure. Yeah. My pleasure. Good stuff,
man.
guys.
All right.
All righty.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Andy, thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you. Is that good?